It starts the way these things always do, quietly. First, there's a typhoon. Not unusual for the Philippines, right? A country that braces for storms the way others brace for rush hour traffic. But this one felt different. Stronger, slower, angrier. Typhoon Fong Wong didn't just blow through, it lingered. It soaked the ground like it was trying to drown the island itself. Cities vanished beneath waves of rainfall. Fields turned to lakes. Entire provinces were cut off. And while the country reeled from the flooding, the wind damage, and the logistical chaos that follows any major typhoon, something much deeper was happening just beneath their feet.
If you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to like, subscribe, and drop a comment. Your feedback helps shape what we cover next, and you being here keeps the conversation going. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.
Because beneath the waterlogged soil and fractured roads, the earth was holding its breath. Then came the alerts. Microquakes, pressure shifts, seismic whispers, the kind of tremors that don't make headlines but send seismologists sprinting to their monitors. Now the scientists are saying it out loud. That storm, that wasn't just a disaster. It may have been a trigger. Billions of tons of rain dumped across already stressed tectonic zones, and in a place like the Philippines, where fault lines weave through the archipelago like spider cracks on a shattered phone screen that matters a lot. The Philippines sits on what geologists call the Philippine Mobile Belt. That name sounds deceptively calm. It's not. This is a collision zone, squeezed between the Philippine Sea Plate and the Eurasian Plate, intersected by microplates and fault systems that have been accumulating tension for centuries. We're talking about the Manila Trench, the Sierra Madre Fault, the Philippine Fault Zone, places with reputations, places that remember. And now, that memory is about to become a reckoning. Because according to the models, the storm may have added just enough stress, just enough final weight to push one of these systems past its breaking point. And when it breaks, it won't be small. They're not talking about a 6.0 or a 7.2. They're talking 9.5. Let that sink in for a second. A magnitude 9.5 earthquake would be one of the largest in recorded human history. It's not just a quake. It's a cataclysm. This is the kind of rupture that doesn't just level cities, it reshapes coastlines. And the warning signs are piling up. Deep Earth sensors have been going off recording microquakes in patterns eerily similar to what came before the 2004 Indian Ocean tsunami. GPS data is showing ground deformation. Pressure is building underground. And it's not being released slowly. It's bottling up. Some scientists are calling this the loaded gun scenario. The typhoon loaded the chamber. Now the question is, when does the trigger get pulled? What's terrifying is that nobody can say exactly when. It could be today. It could be next week. It could be right now. And this is where the story stops being just science and starts being survival. Because here's the nightmare scenario. The quake hits offshore, along the Manila Trench. The seafloor ruptures. Within minutes, a tsunami is born. One so large, so fast, that it gives coastal communities less than an hour to evacuate. But here's the problem. Fong Wong just wiped out half the country's infrastructure. Bridges, damaged. Roads, washed out. Cell towers, spotty at best. People, still picking up the pieces, not preparing for another disaster. Evacuation under normal circumstances is hard. During a summit weekend, with thousands of international delegates, blocked roads, and a population still in disaster recovery mode. That's a logistical nightmare wrapped in a panic spiral. And yet, this isn't fear-mongering. This is math. This is history. This is a nation where earthquakes and tsunamis have left scars again and again. 1976, thousands dead. 1990, buildings crumbled. 2013, a 7.2 magnitude quake in Bohol left cities cracked open like eggshells. So when the alerts come in now, people listen, but they also worrying. Because how do you sound the alarm without starting a stampede? That's the impossible position officials are in right now. Issue a full warning, and you might cause mass panic, gridlock, and chaos. Wait too long, and you risk letting people die who could have had a chance. It's a no-win situation. The science says maybe, but Mother Nature, she doesn't RSVP. Meanwhile, the air still feels wrong. Meteorologists can't explain how Fong Wong stayed alive for so long, why it rained harder than expected, why it pulled moisture from unknown sources and twisted through the Pacific like it was dragging something behind it. One theory: climate change is supercharging storms into new, unpredictable monsters. Another, darker one: these storms aren't just storms anymore, they're interacting with the Earth itself. Because what happens when the atmosphere and the geosphere start talking to each other in ways we've never seen before? What happens when extreme weather doesn't just damage the surface but unlocks something beneath it? That's the line scientists are walking right now. The possibility that climate change and tectonic instability are no longer separate threats. They're linked. And if that's true, it means the future of natural disasters isn't about singular events anymore. It's about chains.
If you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to like, subscribe, and drop a comment. Your feedback helps shape what we cover next, and you being here keeps the conversation going. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.
Cascades. One disaster priming the next. And in the Philippines, that chain may have already begun. Now let's talk about what happens if this quake does hit. It's not just Manila. We're looking at damage across Luzon, tsunami impact on the western coastline, aftershocks shaking an already broken nation, emergency responders stretched to the breaking point, international aid flights grounded because airports are compromised, power grids down, hospitals overwhelmed, and let's not forget the panic a nation traumatized by one storm, now plunged into another crisis before it even had time to heal. And still, the sensors keep ticking, the microquakes continue. The tension underground builds like the final seconds before a snapped violin string. So where does this leave us? In limbo, that haunting space between the warning signs and the disaster, where you feel it coming but can't do much except brace. And that's the hardest part. It's not the shaking ground. It's the waiting, the knowing, the almost. That's what makes this moment different. It's not just about geology. It's about uncertainty, about the collision of science and fear, about how we prepare when the threat isn't on the horizon, it's underneath us. So if you're in the region, listen to the alerts. Prepare like it's happening, even if it never does. Because it's better to run and come back, than to stay and never get the chance. And to the rest of the world, take note. This is what the future of natural disasters looks like. Complex, interconnected, fast. Climate doesn't just mean hotter summers and rising seas. It means destabilization at every level, including the ground we stand on. This story isn't over. It's unfolding in real time. The earth is shifting. The skies are screaming. And somewhere beneath the Philippine Sea, pressure is building. So keep your eyes open, your phone charged, your bag packed. Because when the earth speaks, it doesn't whisper. It roars. Drop a comment below. Are you in the Philippines right now? Have you felt the microquakes? What's the mood in your area? And if you're watching from afar, what would you do in a moment like this? Stay safe, stay informed, and subscribe for continuing updates as this story develops, because if this quake hits, the world will feel it. And for the people living on the edge of the trench, they already do. It's about the space between prediction and panic, about a country trying to steady itself on ground that won't stop shifting, about what happens when you're forced to hold your breath not for seconds, but for days, wondering if the next tremor will be the last calm moment before everything breaks. Because right now, the Philippines isn't just waiting for a quake. It's waiting for confirmation that the nightmare already in motion can't be stopped. You walk outside and the air feels too quiet. There's this eerie stillness that hangs over neighborhoods like a held breath. Streets are drying, but they're still scarred from Fong Wong mud-covered cars, downed wires, trees snapped in half like toothpicks. Relief workers are still knee-deep in floodwater and bureaucracy. And then you hear the click, another seismic alert on the news. Another microquake reported offshore. Another deep tremor nobody felt, but everyone knows means something. It's like a horror film where the monster hasn't shown up yet, but you know it's behind the door. And the data keeps rolling in. Satellites are registering subtle uplifts inland. GPS stations are drifting millimeters a day, just enough to mean something, but not enough to say exactly what. Seismologists keep repeating the same phrase in every interview. We can't predict earthquakes, but we can detect increasing pressure. Pressure. That's the word that keeps coming back. The pressure beneath the crust. The pressure in the sky from a storm system that defied logic. The pressure on government officials to act or not act too soon. The pressure on communities to stay alert without tipping into hysteria. And here's the kicker. The infrastructure wasn't ready for one disaster, let alone a second, even deadlier one. You've got towns still running on backup generators, bridges that look like someone sneezed on them and they might collapse, and telecom towers that were barely hanging on before Fong Wong shredded their supports. So now imagine trying to evacuate entire coastal populations with that. Imagine trying to push out a tsunami warning and realizing half the SMS networks are jammed because everyone's texting their relatives in Manila asking, "Is this real? Are we safe?" And it's not just the coast. Let's say the quake hits at magnitude 9.5, and that's not just a number on a scale. That's a literal earth-ripping event. Buildings in Manila, Even the modern high-rises, they might withstand, but they'll sway. And the older, mid-century concrete structures, the ones housing families, schools, hospitals, they're not built for that. They're built for hope. There's a difference. And then there's the water. Because with the trench quake, the tsunami isn't a maybe. It's an eventuality. The models are already sobering. Waves 10 to 20 feet high slamming into coastal areas within 40 minutes of the rupture. That's barely time to confirm the quake happened, let alone clear the roads, issue real-time alerts, and get people out of low-lying barangays that are already full of evacuees from the storm. And then comes the silence again. Because for every expert sounding alarms, there's another side whispering, "Don't panic the public. There's a summit happening. International dignitaries, political optics, economic risks, tourist dollars, investment pipelines. So, do you gamble? Do you issue a full-scale evacuation order and risk mass chaos and false alarms? Or do you wait for more data and pray it doesn't arrive too late?" This is where it gets brutally human. No precedent, no past event to model it on perfectly. Because while climate science and geology used to be studied separately, now they're overlapping. Storms are getting stronger. Rainfall is dumping faster. And that water? It's not just flooding streets anymore. It's infiltrating fault systems. It's literally adding weight, compressing, lubricating, stressing ancient fault lines that are already on edge. That's what's truly unnerving. Because it means the world we've planned for is not the world we're in anymore. The climate crisis isn't just rising tides and hotter summers. It's stress loads underground. It's chain reactions. It's one storm today triggering one quake tomorrow. And what's terrifying is that the data backs this up. Post-storm earthquakes have been observed before, just never at this scale. Never this close to one of the world's most complex and dangerous tectonic zones. And never with a storm like Fong Wong acting as the potential fuse. So now we're left with one chilling truth. The earth might be listening to the sky. And when the sky screams, the earth cracks. It's poetic. It's terrifying. It's where science meets myth. Except this time the myth is real. So where does this go next? That depends on whether the pressure below finds a safe way out or if it erupts in one of the most devastating events the Pacific has seen in decades. It depends on whether our warning systems work, whether our infrastructure holds, whether we trust science more than rumors, and whether, in the face of unthinkable odds, we remember how to act not just with fear, but with focus. Because here's the real message. This isn't about the Philippines alone. This is the future of disaster on a warming planet. This is what the new normal looks like: layered, fast-moving, and unforgiving. One disaster won't wait for the last to finish. The world doesn't hit pause between catastrophes anymore. So whether you live in Luzon, Los Angeles, Jakarta, or Tokyo, this matters. Because tectonics don't recognize borders. And storms don't need passports. This is our shared fault line now. A world where climate, geology, and human systems are intertwined and the pressure is rising. The Philippines is standing on that edge right now. And when the ground moves, we'll all feel the aftershocks. So stay alert, stay ready. Because sometimes, the disaster doesn't give you time to react. It gives you 1 second. And you better already be moving. Let us know how you're feeling right now. Are you near the impact zones? Do you think the government is doing enough to prepare? Have you lived through a quake before? Drop your thoughts in the comments. We're listening. Because right now, stories like yours might save lives. And if you're watching this from afar, don't look away. Because what's happening in the Philippines could be a warning for the rest of the world. The earth is changing. And the sky? It's not done speaking yet. And here's the part that no one really wants to talk about, but we need to. What if this is just the beginning? Because when you look at what's happening, it feels less like a one-off disaster and more like a system coming apart at the seams. You've got a country battered by climate extremes, sitting on some of the most dangerous fault lines on Earth, and the two are starting to interact, not just coincidentally but directly. And if that sounds too apocalyptic good, it should feel urgent, because the rules are changing. For decades, we separated weather and geology. Meteorologists talked rain, geologists talked rock. Simple, clean, predictable boxes. But now, the storm rains harder, the land gets heavier, the pressure shifts, the cracks widen. The science is telling us something our systems aren't built to handle. It's not just cause and effect anymore. It's cause and compound. And what happens when you compound a superstorm with a 9.5 megaquake? You get a scenario so overwhelming that even the best prepared nation would struggle to respond, let alone a country still drying out from one of the most powerful typhoons in recent memory. The people of the Philippines aren't just living through a natural disaster. They're living through a feedback loop. Storm hits, infrastructure weakens, seismic risk rises, quake hits, infrastructure collapses, recovery stalls, storm season comes again only stronger, rinse and repeat. And each time, the margin for survival shrinks. And look, we could talk more numbers. Rainfall per hour, plate displacement rates, seismic energy release. But at this point, you don't need more data. You need to know how to live with this. You need to know how to read the signs before the ground gives way. And it starts with listening, not just to the experts, but to the people, the ones in the villages near the coast, the ones in the hills watching the trees shift unnaturally, the ones who remember a sound in the earth they haven't heard since they were children during the 1990 quake. Because local memory, it remembers things science hasn't measured yet, and when the ground trembles, or the animals go quiet, or the air feels wrong, they know. So yeah, trust the tech, but also trust the instinct. This is a moment to blend knowledge and gut, science and soul. Because if that quake hits and it still might, the countdown isn't going to be in hours. It's going to be in seconds. So pack a bag, map a route, know your high ground. Charge your phone. Don't wait for the government alert to tell you what you already feel. This is your window. Use it. Because nature doesn't wait for the plan. It just moves. And when it does, you have two choices: freeze or run like hell. And if you're thinking, well, maybe it won't happen, sure. Maybe it won't. Maybe the ground stays quiet. Maybe this was just pressure easing. A close call. A false alarm. But what if it isn't? What if this is the warning you don't get twice? Because that's the cruel thing about natural disasters. They don't announce themselves with clarity. They whisper. They hint. They give you a gut feeling. And then they leave you to decide whether to act or wait until it's too late. The truth is, if a 9.5 quake strikes, there won't be time to scroll, to debate, to hesitate. There will only be action, or loss. So ask yourself right now, are you ready? Not in theory but in real, practical terms. Do you know where to go? Do you have what you need? Are your loved ones aware? Because preparedness isn't panic. It's respect. Respect for the power of the earth. Respect for the lives around you. Because when the shaking starts, it doesn't care who believed the warning, only who listened. So listen. And move. Because when the ocean pulls back, when the birds go silent, when the earth takes that breath, you run. Thanks so much for watching. If you made it all the way to the end, you're officially part of the small percentage of people who don't just click away, and that means a lot. Before you go, I'd love to hear from you. Drop a comment below and tell me your thoughts, your ideas, or even what you'd like to see next. I read every single one of them, and your feedback genuinely shapes the direction of this channel. If you enjoyed the video, tap that like button. It tells YouTube this content is worth sharing. And if you haven't already, hit subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next upload. We've got more exciting videos coming, and trust me, you'll want to be here for them. This channel is just getting started, and your support helps it grow faster than you realize. Thank you again for spending a part of your day here with me. Stay curious, stay motivated, and as always, take care of yourself. Until next time, I'll see you in the next video.